This is the Manufacturing Automation Podcast. I'm Michael.
And I'm Matt. In this podcast, we're going to discuss growing companies, automation and manufacturing,
and how we're building the lives and businesses we want to see in the world.
Back on the map with Matt and Michael. Don't forget to share this with your friends, family, like, subscribe, so we can get that follower count up, so we can get the word out about our manufacturing business and hopefully educating more people about some things we're passionate about. What we typically talk about is general feelings of the week, the ups, the downs, the exciting things that happen in business ownership. Sales and marketing is number 2. We can't engineer, we can't make new projects move forward without our great customers. Engineering and R&D, we're both passionate about bringing new products to market, be it for our own brands or our customers. Company-wide updates and improvements, we follow a lot of lean principles, but as a small business, it's a lean process that we are executing. And then lastly is kind of our weekly tasks or personal segments. Sometimes we'll challenge each other on something we think we need to do a little bit differently into the coming week, or maybe just take a breather and focus on ourselves and things we're going to do outside of work, because it's all too easy to focus on the day-to-day as a small business owner.
Awesome. I want you to start. I'm sure I'll have a...
Yeah, that was a long-winded intro for me, but
it was clean. That was...
I think that summarizes my week. My week has been flow. Like that is, as I was going through it, general feelings of the week has been just like, a lot of really big meetings. I had the bandwidth to prepare for them, and I haven't had the amount, like I had 2.5 hours to prepare for a pitch this week, prior to, like we had done all the deck, we had done everything, but literally the 2.5 hours prior, all I was doing was focusing on all the questions that can come up, how I'm going to handle this pitch with the client. And that was like the bulk of my week, was a bunch of really big pitches like that, or customer relations. And I just had the bandwidth to properly prepare. And it was really refreshing, because it was probably some of the best quality I feel like I've done in terms of just business development relations with our clients. So I don't know. I was just really excited about it, and I'm having a blast doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you're up.
Okay. I know it hasn't been too long since the last pod, but you were kind of like curious to see where would I land in a week. Not quite a week, but I've still been kind of following, I don't know, the mindset of what I talked about last week, where on my little mini vacation, I concluded, and having been told this multiple times by people far more experienced than myself, that like I tend to trip or to kind of trip myself up or get in my own way because I care too much, right? And that has, like, one historical example I've been really bad with is like, with customers pushing buttons or taking advantage, or, purchasers and buyers being purchasers and buyers, trying to use this as a bank. I think I have cared too much about, not necessarily cared too much about the customer, but not really stood our ground as well as I should have. And I let those things bother me. And seeing some more experienced business owners, and also, reading the book I mentioned last week, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
It's hard not to, Michael, though. Like,
yeah,
at the end of the day, it's hard not to take a little personal at our size.
Well, let me give you the perspective change.
Yeah,
that's always what I thought too. I'm like, that's BS. Like, I'm a passionate person. I'm gonna care.
I'm not saying it's all BS. I'm just saying, you're human.
I know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I think I didn't see, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna commit to this. I've heard this enough times now. I've seen business owners who have bigger companies and seem a lot more calm, even with a lot more chaos. Like, let's give it a try. And basically, I rewrote our core values on the EOS thing, and the one at the very top is reciprocity. And the idea is like, we'll move the world for you, but you got to like respond to our emails. You got to pay your bills on time. Like, if you take 2 weeks to respond to an email and then you want a rush job, we're not going to take 2 weeks getting back to you, but we're not.
Yeah, it's matching cadence of customers sometime, where it's, I know I'm definitely bad at that times of something hits my inbox. I'm like, I'm here. It only takes 2 minutes to respond. Done.
Yep. So let me give you examples. Like, we have, 2 intro loads that were recently sold. One customer paid 2 months late, and they're like, hey, our install slot that you had originally mentioned is coming up in like a week. We're like, no. That was available, like 6 weeks ago, and we kept pinging you, and this just happened again, where it was like, the drawn out process, that's normal. There's a sales cycle, right?
Oh yeah.
But you can't expect it to be like an install a week and a half from when you pay the bill, on a built to order product, right? So I don't know, just like calm mindset of like not trying to fix it, not being upset, just saying, nope, here's the policy, this is why, and moving on. And I've tried to apply that same mindset to accounts receivable, to sales, and just like weirdly, by not caring as much, just everything has gotten better. By that reciprocity of, no, we're going to stop working on your project because you have this 40 grand of outstanding.
I find it interesting that you're able to compartmentalize that quickly on it, because I know that's been something I actually had a similar conversation with Amanda this week about it. We're like, this week has been just going so well, and I have so many positives. And then there was one thing that just really yanked my chains.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do I let this get even any attention? Like, it's not that big a deal. Technically, it's going to get taken care of. It's just like the way that this customer ended up taking a stance on something was just like, doesn't align with anything that was communicated, but it's like, why does it even bother me? It's not that big a deal. So I'm curious to see how you could just flip that like a switch.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. It's like,
tough.
If enough bad things happen and then you like pinch that with, or like combine that with a cash flow squeeze, like there have been times where it's like I had a little mini panic attack, right? Like a decent number of times, like where the carrying too much has been way, way too high. And I think I got there and I was like in a sustained state of like misery, overworking and carrying too much. And I stayed there for like a month and a half, right? And, I went on vacation and then I got some more of the same customer BS on these people. I want to say positive because it's like such a minority of customers, right?
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, we're talking about staying positive and then complaining.
Yeah. And I just snapped. I just said, you know what? Like, I can't live like this anymore. Like, let's try something. And something was recommended to me, and I'm just like, fuck, I'm gonna try it. And
was there?
And then I don't think I would have kept pursuing it if I didn't see it like working immediately, right? Like if the AR didn't come in, the like, just I don't know.
I think you're missing some of the detail, like just saying stop caring, like
no.
All right, like that doesn't make sense. Like
when I mean,
there's got to be
caring,
something else that's going in your process.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like having gone through years and years and years of this. It's kind of like the saying, like, how do you go bankrupt? Like slowly and then suddenly, right? And I think this has slowly been happening for a while. I've been learning to be, more assertive, learning to really, define our values. Really, still am kind of learning how to delegate and manage well. And I think that like a lot of this honestly came to like, okay, I'm not going to handle bad invoices anymore. Like, this goes to Priscilla and this goes to that person, and like letting go. I don't know. I think I was like becoming more insular and holding on to more tasks as things got crazier, right?
Yeah, that's tough because sometimes there's just not the person to hand the tasks off to as you grow for a while. I know I've been a victim of my own decisions that way too.
And now I don't know though, like as far as like a business thing, like basically the other thing that I've noticed is that I'm like really good at being a good manager or like a good, innovator, but not both at the same time. And I like really struggle to make that swap.
Switching cost is real between those two.
Yeah.
It's very real.
Yeah, I can like swap between like admin and sales and marketing. But like getting into like that real creative headspace, when there's a sales call at at 1 p.m. and another one at 2 p.m. and then performance review or whatever, I've realized I just really struggle with that, and I think that's part of why I've seen some of these like undulations in the company's performance. Like we'll come out with a new product and that causes a lot of great results, but then maybe we don't polish it as much as we should have, or it takes too long to do that, or the sales isn't I'm not on top of the sales as I should be, and so on.
Yeah. No, that's why I keep pushing myself to get further out of everything but sales marketing / business development. Like
Yep.
that's where, and then what's interesting is any job you do can be creative. Like it
Hmm.
doesn't, I mean, whether it's in CAD or sales, like it's still creative work at the end of the day in what we do. It's just a different form of it. And the more you're in one headspace, I think is better.
Yep. Yep. But I'll be honest too. Like in that engineering space, like I can get a little obsessed. I can spend way too much on an R&D. You know this, right? I've seen
Oh,
non belong.
we both like, I mean, I
Yeah.
came from building boutique cars where I was given like unlimited time, unlimited resources at times to just make like this tail light or this mirror or this
Yep.
weird widget. And it's like hard not to just mission creep the crap out of that.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, you do. I've gathered the same thing that happens. And sometimes it's starting too many R&D projects in parallel. I know develops made that decision or issue in the past too. And I think that's a challenge you've had that can dilute efforts is too many priorities.
Yep. For sure.
So
Cool. Well, you want to go on to sales and marketing, and you can head it up.
I think I kind of led into that. It's been
Yeah.
nothing too crazy. It's been a lot of really big meetings this week, not too many of them. Otherwise, it's been answering a lot of just general team questions in terms of drafting proposals, because that's something in the talking of taking stuff off our plates. I don't draft any of our proposals. We have a pretty cool SOP where I export all of our recorded meetings. I then put my notes into a OneNote or document that then the team leverages to make all of our proposals and draft stuff. And then we have a cadence of a dual review process that works quite quickly. We can now, we're turning proposals in under 24 hours for complex anything that's not super custom. And then if it's custom, it's usually less than a week. But I think the key is getting me out of all those proposal draftings. And we've automated a lot of that. So like for context, we've done 11 proposals for automation in just the last week, which
Yeah. That's
is
awesome.
insane for us. Like
Hmm.
it seems like where I think probably a couple months ago, I was saying, we're trying to do one proposal a week was like our standard cadence goal. And we just had a giant wave now. Like we've
Yep.
been saying, conversions are way lower. So it's been a huge push just to get more deals in the pipeline, but also focus on which ones are right too.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say too, and knowing, having run like a job shop, and I know you kind of been there, kind of managing a production floor. Like the nothing is like a lower hanging fruit in terms of doing it. I'm not saying it's easy to do to boost conversion rate than just getting the RFQ back quickly. Um, just like especially not necessarily projects of your size and scale that develop normally addresses, but you know, getting that first meeting, that first call, getting a quote, getting the ability to pay money as fast as possible just takes that conversion rate and like doubles it.
Yeah, and even if it's not getting their proposal to them, letting them know that you're working on it is a huge thing.
Hmm.
Like I get good reception, like, hey, your proposal just went into, X stage. Let's get something on the books because it should be done by the date that we have, as long as it's a couple days out. Those are just little tweaks too, so then we can
Yep.
tune that sales cycle.
Yeah.
But cool.
What else?
I
What
don't
else have
have a
you got
whole lot.
in
This
sales?
whole
No.
Yeah, this whole like I guess we did just meet not too long ago, but my prep
Yep.
for this was like I don't have a whole lot to say in complete transparency.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you like a little tidbit that I think kind of overlaps in my part of sales and marketing. Um, I have been doing like a lot of quotes. I do the sales calls and stuff, and I just I don't know if I'd call it an epiphany, but I just kind of realized, and I'll tell you why in a sec. Like the goal needs to be that I don't really individually touch an individual customer of like, I'm not customer inquiry comes in and then, to the completion should be like, I'm only ever involved if something is wrong. And I'm so far away from that, but that's where I see us going.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat, but different.
Hmm.
Mine is based on anything productized or under X value, I want to slowly step out of. And what I really want to do is focus on large strategic business development. Like I'll give an example right now. I pitched a $6.8 million project this week, a whale of a relationship. We would have to stagger that over many years of ramping them into this.
Yep.
But those are the kind of deals and relationships. We have a client that's not to that magnitude right now that's really helping us strategically grow. And I really enjoy putting those deals together. They take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It can be very painful if you're not willing to go through that stretch. But on the backside of these relationships is so rewarding. And I have so much fun because I don't know, I get a thrill. A thrill's the wrong word, I guess, but it's just like I can see how our two businesses getting lock and step can grow together. And that just really excites me. So those are the ones that I really want to put my energy towards in the future. And then strategic planning for develops growth based on those deals that we put together.
Well, I think it's like the same thing because like that is a big enough deal size that it's working on the business, right?
Yeah.
And like for me, like if you have a deal that's like 1-2x revenue annually, yeah, that's absolutely working on the business. Yeah, that's sales and marketing. I feel like such an idiot. I'm going to tell you why. We have an SEO guy now. Finally have an SEO firm that we love. He's
Nice.
doing great work. And the numbers have been getting better. Like we've been improving the website. But Priscilla found checking something that our checkout button on our store didn't work on mobile. And like I don't know, 2/3 of our traffic comes in on mobile. I don't know what it is for develop, but a significant amount.
Ours is pretty low for mobile.
Our conversions tripled on Shopify. It's like I don't know how long it's been like this, how long that was an issue, but it definitely cost me like between high 5 figures and low 6 figures. And I look at that and I'm like, oh my god. And so that was a huge change of just like we thought it was Google or some attribution issue. It might have just been this little tiny conversion. And I think like that really gave me the motivation like to go after those 1%ers. That kind of cliche story of that like British biking team that like every little 1% thing they could optimize. And that made me think like, oh wow, we're gonna make all this money because I worked on the business and the website. I mean, Priscilla found this, but you get the point. Rather than working in the business on an individual customer project. And I think that's kind of a mindset shift for me.
Yeah, I think you'll really see some compound gains. You also can zoom out too when you're not so close to the problem. That's something like I had a recent conversation with a really good client, and there was they just in general had a question about the project, and it was like, hey, are we just getting too in the details here? Like, I think we're looking at this wrong. Like, your project's ahead of schedule, we're under budget. You're just frustrated with this one little thing because of another vendor we're working with and the way something's going. We've been transparent about it. Like, are we looking at the wrong thing? And there was just like a pause on the phone, and it was just like that was the end, and then we just started talking about hunting.
Yeah.
Like, because you're detached, you're able just to zoom out where he's so close to that project that he could feel it. And it was like, let's just step back, and it helps being zoomed out. Because I mean, I've been in that instance where like, had I been on the project, I would have defended things and I would have got frustrated. And then instead it's like, we're just looking at this wrong.
Random question.
Yeah.
What are you using Copilot the most? What's a major AI you use kind of every day? Is it
ChatGPT for me.
I don't know if it's just me. Has ChatGPT gotten way worse for you in like the last 2-3 days?
The 5 is, I tend to go back to 4 a lot of times.
Even, I've been trying to go back to 4 or 5, whatever. It's just like all of my flows just aren't working. And I saw the exact same thing happen with Comet and Perplexity. So like this might fit more in CIs, but like I have been trying to like replace the need for another, person in kind of admin staff with AI. And it's been working really, really, really well until like the last week, where Comet, the little Perplexity AI thing just is doing random stuff that just takes way more work to fix than it took to command.
You're describing Yeah, you're
Ugh,
describing one of my exact fears that I've communicated with the team with some
yeah.
of the AI tools we're building out is like, I think they're going to work. Same thing we saw with Fixer is they work really good new, but then they
I know.
regress really quickly. And then managing them, like, do we need to just budget to rebuild rather
Yeah.
than manage?
Well, and I'm like, okay, so this was a pain point. I put all this effort into solving the pain point, and now I just wake up and it's back. And now all that tool building isn't there. And I'm like, should I have just recorded an SOP or a process and hired a person? Like, uh, maybe. I mean, if I would have known in hindsight, right?
I don't know what to say about that because we haven't had that pain to the level you're seeing, but it's been something I've been questioning the team on because it's a fear of mine.
Yep.
Our approach has been, yeah, it's going to break and we're going to pivot when it happens. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
a theme we have here now is, you don't solve a problem until it's a problem.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, with
Yep.
some caveats, but like it's all too easy to chase things. But to yours, I don't know what to say, Michael, because that's a pain. I mean, how long would it take for you to rebuild it now, knowing what you know?
That's the thing. I don't even know how. And, we had like the line pilot tool that like automatically populates the products in HubSpot. We were about to cancel the subscription. And then because Comet would just fill it out on simple instructions with like a nicely engineered prompt. And now it's trying to like generate $200,000 quotes with the wrong items to people on what should be like a $10,000 transaction. And I'm just like,
Um, Interesting. Okay.
I think the big thing is like, I thought if I built the tool once and it was easy and it worked seamlessly, kind of like it felt at first, right? Then it's worth it, and you can avoid hiring that person. But if I'm gonna be rebuilding it all the time, we can use the tools as leverage, but I can't use them as a replacement. Like I need someone else there who can actually manage the tool.
How long did it work for? Because I feel like
I
I
mean,
heard it working like 2 weeks ago, and that's when you got it set up. So this thing
yeah,
lasted like 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's oof. And it
Well,
probably
and
took you
and
like two
ChatGPT
days to.
lasted like forever, but I don't know, like the the last week has just been like a nightmare. The sometimes we'll send like copies of quotes to our internal vendors, like that went to customers, like if we need a custom part made. We just would put the things in, say redact out all the prices, and it would come back perfectly with a PDF with redacted pricing. Can't even do that now. And I like that was something that happened seamlessly with no effort, and now suddenly doesn't work, right?
I've seen stuff like that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't. I don't have an answer. It's a
yeah.
pain. I don't know what to say. Sorry.
I think I know the answer. Like a lot of these problems, I have worse than you because like on a revenue per employee basis, we're too small, and you know the I've been relying more on outsourcing and like great relationships with local domestic small vendors, and that's been working really well. But I still need to like there's still the core of the problem. Like we're still understaffed, and I just need to admit that and address it and fix it.
Yeah. Okay. On to engineering and R&D.
Yeah. Um. Well, why don't you go? I've been rambling on enough.
Again, nothing too crazy here. As I said, MRS and HMI are buttoned up, waiting on some anodizing to come back, and one piece of powder coated sheet metal that's got to get mounted, and then we can do fat testing on that. Do you have issues with sheet metal just always arriving bent?
Um.
Like it seems like
Depends on the vendor.
yeah,
Is
it
it
seems
aluminum, steel? Like what's the
steel. I'm not gonna
are
throw
they?
any vendors under the bus, but
No.
it is one vendor in particular that it seems to
Are they
just
big parts?
yeah, typically. And then they come in like a box instead of on a skid. And I think that's the real
Uh,
problem. Um, yeah, it's interesting because like in the last month and a half here, we've had, I mean, just this last order had three pieces bent, and then
mhm.
another big one that was bent to the last order. Like it's like what the
Do
hell?
you, yeah. Do you manage the vendor? Does someone on your team manage the vendor?
Somebody on our team.
So, I've had this happen a couple times, where we have consistent issues with a vendor. My first reaction is to swap the person on our team who manages that vendor, even if it's just temporary, kind of because it gets like a refresh. To call the vendor on the phone myself and kind of say, hey, here are the problems we've been experiencing. Is there a way we can systematically solve the problem, or even like, can you give me a reference to someone who can solve that problem for us? And as that like tension builds, just like swapping the person, I found that like that reset, and also just saying, hey, I need these on skids. Like if you send another one on skids, I have to move vendor, or not on skids, I'll move vendors, right?
Yeah, that was kind of my thought, is like, because I know I've done that when I've purchased a lot of aluminum. Like I used to spec the size of skids
Yeah.
I wanted stuff because it fit our racking, fit our pallet jacks, our forklift. Like I've gone to
Yeah.
that, and that's kind of what my leaning was. Just like every time you guys place a quote with this vendor, just give them the shipping specifications if the parts are over X size, was kind of my thought to it.
Yep.
And I'd rather pay, like in this instance, it's parts for the MRS for the trade show. And now we
Yep.
don't have time to reorder them
Mm-hmm.
and get them fixed. So now we got to fix bent panels and take it to a trade show, which is just frustrating.
Yeah. I don't know, like maybe that's one of those places like that carrying less could like solve the issue creatively. Like, you could go to FedEx, get like a poster board that says what it does. That's the same size as that sheet metal panel, double-sided tape it in front of it, and you wouldn't even know that it was wrong, right?
Potential.
Right. And then, because that's one thing I've been working on too, is like not causing chaos. So I'm asking like, is there a way to solve the problem well enough that that lets the source of the problem, in this case a vendor, fix the issue? So you say to the vendor, hey, here's the pictures, the thing's bent, we got to put this on skids, we need to make another one of this, we're going to take it to the trade show as is, it's not a rush, and we're going to figure out how to cover it up. You go buy a FedEx poster card or whatever the heck, the little display boards that has some MRS ad creative, you hot glue it to the front, it looks like nothing is wrong, and then you can solve that problem maybe without the chaos.
Yeah. My solve was I walked over to the shipping department, grabbed a couple 2x4s, threw them on the floor, and smashed them back into place and said, that's good enough.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my solution. And so we're going to take it to the show that way. You can see the wrinkles, but it took like 3 minutes, and I just
Okay.
pounded the sheet metal back into place with a 2x4.
Yeah. I guess I'm projecting a bit, because like that's one of the things where I would like go, oh no, we got to fix it right away, and then maybe like we would build it in house and powder coat it ourselves. And
oh no, I definitely didn't turn it into that. It was
that's good.
I took a 2x4 and smashed it, and
Yep.
I was surprised powder coat didn't pop off. I thought for sure we were going to be like Sharpieing powder coat.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if the powder coat peels before the metal fails, you got a bad powder coat job, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of powder coat crack and pop in those instances, though.
Yeah. Bad powder coat job.
Okay. Another one on vendors. We're testing a new anodizer. I know I told you, I think offline you had asked about anodizers. Yeah. We had a quote just come back where it was just like, maybe it's time we look at another option. So we're testing one out. Thankfully, it's on a project where it's like, all right, if it doesn't come back the way we want to see it, or on some parts, they were meant for internal inventory, because we want our HMIs always live on a desk when we give tours, because it's not uncommon. I'm like, I want this machine on, and I want to show somebody how our HMI works, but then somebody's testing that machine and I'm just in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I just want these on a shelf anytime running, and I can show people how our machines run. And so we're sending those out to a different anodizer to test, and I'm like, it's cost effective.
Oh, you're anodizing the whole HMI now?
Yeah, that's been not orange like you have been saying.
Yeah, I know.
But it's going to black. And so we're testing a new vendor on that, and I'm like, well, the cost savings, if we don't like it, that's going to be just fine, and we can rebuild them if we absolutely had to, but I'm sure they'll be just fine.
I didn't even tell you about our anodizer horror story. We have a vendor who does an excellent job, beautiful parts always, and he sent them to a new anodizer. The process with bead blast, if an anodizer doesn't know how to do bead blast and anodize, it looks like garbage every single time. Like, it's not that hard to bead blast just some straight machine part, but bead blast plus anodize, if the bead blast media is contaminated, if they don't know they need to do bright dip, if they don't know that they need to bright dip it for 30 seconds and not 3 minutes,
have you
any of those things, it looks terrible.
Have you ever thought of shot peening?
Well, we do glass bead blasting.
Okay.
We're going for that like MacBook look. I mean, we're not like that picky, but
like shot peening gives you that too, and it's super it's expensive, but that's what we used on like optics parts typically,
Mm,
because it actually gives a surface hardening as well
right.
when you do it. It is gorgeous and super consistent.
I need to look at it because the question is like, does it? We have like dowel pin features and stuff we don't want to mess with. We don't really want to impact the surface in any way. Um,
Internal features like that, you'll be just fine. I
yeah,
mean, for context, used on
yeah.
optics parts in that industry, so tolerances are very tight.
Okay, yeah. Um, but yeah, that was so anodizers are such a pain, and we've got this local anodizer. They do such a great job, but I don't know if it's UPS or their shipping department or whatever. Somehow going from LA to Burbank, which is like 30 minutes drive, or LA to Anaheim, which is 45 minutes, something always gets damaged to a point I'm like, is this the anodizer? Like, and now we're like literally decided, okay, we're gonna drive the parts there. Um, and they're the most beautiful anodized, but they just don't communicate. Like, our parts have been sitting there for a week and they didn't even tell us until we asked. And it's just like, so like the one anodizer I love the results of has like the worst business practices ever.
How big are they?
Big. They're a big company.
Interesting.
it-
Okay.
that's the whole thing of like, if your vendor's too big, they just don't care about,
Yeah,
whatever little sliver of revenue you are.
makes
I guess
sense.
I'll actually talk about engineering.
No, you're
Um,
fine. Yeah, we're talking about anodizing. That's engineering
yeah.
solutions.
I think the big thing I've been doing is saying, hey, we're really slammed on, engineering. And I've been trying to, first off, I've realized like a lot of our like smaller vendors who are like job shops know CAD really well. And I've been looking at anything that's a project I might tackle. And I've just been recording little 10-minute scope of work videos and sending them out. And I'm just trying this with like a bunch of existing vendors and seeing how they do. And yeah, I mean it's been good. I'm like half of them have not succeeded, right? Um, but yeah, I mean at the end of the day, I started doing this for our team a lot more. Like I'm spending a lot of my day on Loom, and realizing, hey, like delegating is really nice. I need to be better at this, and also scoping things out better.
I guess I'd like to understand what you're sending to just suppliers. Are you having like engineering change orders done to your parts?
So okay, so like here's the thing: we have some parts like our 90-degree trunnion. We just came out with a new version, and there's a couple customers who are really wailing on the thing. I don't want to say it's not rigid; it's very rigid, but it's not as rigid as it could be. And so I'm like, let's. Anytime I get that feedback twice, I try to make a
Yeah,
new
you put a
engineering
plan.
rev, or
Mhm.
um, and like we don't have the internal engineering bandwidth. We're trying to hire engineers right now, but we need the project done now. Um, and when I can, I like to swap out those customers for free and then make those ones demo units. Um, but like, so I went and I put this project together and I sent it over to somebody, who's like these 1, 2, 3 man shops, who know CAD, they know how to figure it out, and then you can have that shop make it. And it's just like a really clean workflow where the engineering is done at a reasonable price point, from like the young hungry shops.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm trying that approach, and then having started there, I also decided, hey, I need to do these little mini Loom videos for our team and put those into the Gantt charts or the Scrum board, so that they're less confused, and that's making tasks flow a lot better too.
Okay. Interesting. The reason I was asking is uh when I worked at Rings, one of the pains was a bunch of engineering was done prior to me starting there, and there was some supply chain that was set up, and there was parity issues between CAD and what manufacturers were sending
Mm-hmm.
for products that we were selling. And as we shifted to now all engineering under one roof, and then now all engineering and manufacturing under one roof, as we brought
Mm-hmm.
those parts in, there was a clear disconnect. Or if we sent those CAD drawings out to another vendor to get a quote and samples, they would come back not to spec.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I was going, like, just be careful on your parity, because I've literally seen hundreds of parts come in that had to go right in the dumpster.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess this is like a vendor philosophy that's shifting. Like, first off, when I get a customer that's like the same size or smaller than us, I'm excited to see if we can help them automate. But I'll be honest, I kind of know that they're not nearly as good of a lead. They're much less likely to close.
Yeah.
I know those things, and I have shifted to say our ideal customer is 10 times our size by revenue, right? And
Fair
I think
way to
that's
look
kind
at
of
it.
true of most vendors, right? The just because like the
Okay.
value to that smaller vendor, like the value that you get, like you're able to very scrappily build this thing compared to if the organization did it with their own internal staff, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I have taken that kind of philosophy because I looked at where we've had success with vendors and where we haven't, and have been applying it to like individual, machining vendors and whatnot.
Cool.
And yeah, and my philosophy is like assign them a part number. As long as the quality is good, like we just keep sending them the part. And I pretty much have been like I've maxed out a couple of these guys already. I have like three. Um, and the great thing is like you build that relationship, and you're a big enough percentage of their revenue, like they care, they pick up the phone, right? They'll make everything right. And honestly, I think that's how I've been able to go so long for the last few months while we've been so short staffed.
Yeah, that seems to align. I mean, I think of when I was that small and I had one customer that was the majority of the
Yeah.
revenue. I mean, I can think
Yeah.
of Sunday nights. I had one customer. He used to, for some reason, call me Sunday night at like 2 a.m. And
Oh, we're not that vendor.
I would wake up and
For
answer
customer.
that phone.
I know. Yeah, I
But
was
he
there
was on
too.
T&M. I'd literally bill him for a 45-minute conversation at 2 a.m. I'd go back to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there too. Like, yeah, I strive to not be that customer.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I get it. I think of like that small business scrappy, like if a customer called me at 2 a.m. anymore, I mean, I probably wouldn't hear it go off. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't hear it go off anymore.
Yeah, and like with these vendors too, like as they move more and more into production and they increase their tiers of customers, like they're gonna outgrow us, right? Where and like I think at one point I would have gotten upset about that, and now I need to be like awesome, like um the and who knows, like hopefully we grow too, and
Yeah,
um
you don't know.
yeah,
Things change.
yeah. um
So,
the Intralo, we're working on a couple new versions, and that's kind of the biggest sore point right now. And a lot of our other R&D is just paused again because we're so short staffed.
okay. Company-wide updates and improvements?
Well, I feel like I've been talking too high of a percentage of this podcast, so
I
why don't you
literally have like
just...
I have a bunch of stuff that I did this week that I can't talk about. That's
Okay,
like the
yeah.
best way to summarize my week. And it's not because of stuff we're doing internally or anything negative. It's literally just NDAs on big deals that I'm super jacked about that I really hope I can start talking in code names in the future.
Yep.
That has been my entire week and I love it.
Okay, yeah. What about like any CIs from your team or something?
So the big CI, so I've been talking about the MRS, the HMI. We've been talking about A3 getting certified on that. So actually, that is one thing. I made some calls. We're going through our first audit for getting A3 certified. So that is coming up for a company-wide update improvement.
What is A3?
It's a automation association. So it's basically I like to call it ISO light for automation integrators is
Okay,
really what it
interesting.
is. I actually classified it as like as we were scoping it out as like a warm up to get us ready for ISO. So once we pass this, it's a trigger event to start going through the ISO. So we buy the ISO documentation and get that is our
Yep.
next step is the way we're going.
Cool.
So that is an exciting CI we're doing. I think of other stuff that moved up. We have the AI sales tool. Holy giant spider on my desk. Random. The AI sales tool is getting drafted as well as we prep for the trade shows. That's their 20 to 30 hours into it. So no real reporting there yet, but excited about the questions that the team member's been asking and the testing that he's doing within HubSpot. Really glad we gave him or just said to go with a 30-day trial as his test environment because he's definitely broken a few things. So that's been good. The last thing is something I think both of us struggle with is in general project management of a bunch of projects running in parallel.
Yep.
Critical paths are real. Delay early in project may not be felt early in project that causes giant cascading problems in the future that aren't felt until the future unless proactively
Right.
managed. gone through, we used to run everything in a Scrum board when we were smaller. We then rolled into running everything, or Scrum board, like literally sticky notes on a whiteboard
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
I think there's pictures on Instagram probably still of my basement, the way we used to
Oh,
run it. Then we went
we went
into,
back to doing that 6 months ago, and then we undid it.
yeah. Yeah. And then we went to, grew into planner boards that worked. And then team kind of got so big that communication broke down there. And then we rolled into doing, I mean, we had done Gantt prior when we were living on the whiteboard Scrum, and we had carried those through, but it's just the visibility of the team. And then as the projects also got bigger and more in parallel, we got into full Gantt within project and planner, feeding that. Then we layered in one plan to run all our resources, get long-term forecasting, because the big thing that I'm always looking at is, all right, we've layered all these projects in 3 to 6 months, we are double booked in mechanical engineering. We have to make a
Yep.
decision. And I want to be able to have that visibility that many months, so then my customers are never feeling that ripple of delays. All right, do we hire? Do we adjust schedules, like pull stuff forward, push stuff slightly around so we can get it done with our current staff, stuff like that.
Yep.
One plan just didn't deliver on that over the last 12 months of what we wanted. Part of it is because we didn't fully integrate all the features.
I went in and checked because I asked about one plan. We paid them before, and we went down the road of implementing it, and it failed, which is kind of funny.
Interesting.
But like a year prior, and I had just forgotten about it.
So we're going through, they're doing, it looks like we need to, the level of deployment's pretty critical. We went into kind of like a baseline. We knew this year was a test of it. And we said, we're going to revise it 1 year. Every 1 year we're revising as far as project management goes. So we're going through doing our full audit of it, the pains the team members felt this last year, things that we didn't like, things
Yep.
that cost us money because of delays, and looking at proactively fixing that. What, long story short, is I don't have the answer of what we're moving towards. All we've done is identified the problem. We've shared those with one plan, giving them an option to level up their software, show us a solution to do it, because there's always a switching cost. I don't want to kill it if there's a avid path or an option to move forward, but also it's not out of the question that we might kill that and move into something else. So
Yeah, makes sense.
that's kind of the other big CI that's in the pipeline that the team has been actively working on. I think we've got one team member's got 50% of his resources allocated to this just for October to solve this pain.
Yeah.
So 80 hours just to building out tools, but it'll definitely pay dividends, because I view it as well into the 6 figures of a pain for our business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Gantt chart and project management. It's kind of, sorry, did you have any more?
No, that's about it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that pain. We have been moving things around. We have our kind of Notion mini ERP system, which goes through these phases of getting overly complicated. And
I looked at Notion. I didn't feel like that was the right thing for our business.
Yeah, I mean, it does a lot of things okay. I mean, it's kind of like HubSpot in that regard. Like, you can make it do a lot, but it doesn't do anything extraordinarily well.
Yeah, kind of like one.
Yeah, yeah. It's less targeted, so it does a lot of things kind of okay, and it's good at storing a lot of different kinds of information. But like one of the big things we did just yesterday is implemented a vendor Gantt chart, where all the projects, the POs, the promised lead times are on a Gantt chart, and I can look at these 20 different POs and projects that we have live right now and see exactly what where each PO spider
got that spider.
So I can see like where each PO and each part number and like what's falling behind, and even plan for things like, oh, this vendor's so far behind, I have to send this to a rush vendor right now, so I don't run all the way out.
Mhm.
That's been huge. And then implementing those things, like our one big T&M client, we have their own Gantt chart. And then we have
you definitely need to run your projects as separate Gantts.
Yeah. Well, once they're at a certain scale, right?
Yeah, you can run smaller projects or incoming T&M requests under a planner board.
Yep.
That.
And then SEO and marketing has now its own Gantt chart as well. And honestly, too, like on that T&M client, and with some of our other clients, like making little mini Gantt charts, and there's this dependency on them, and before we can do XYZ, showing them, hey, you have this dependency, you knew about it, we have shared the Gantt chart with you, you have access, and you took a week long. This is why it's been delayed a week, or we moved things around. that has made my life so much easier.
I love sharing timelines with customers and saying, like, if this is your critical path, you have to make a decision this date is so
Yep.
huge. Like, we've got to the point where now we say, when we kick off a project, we give a customer, like, all right, stage 2, we recommend you send us all your materials for testing, because this is when we're building your machine. And typically 30 to 45 days after that, we're needing your materials for testing. So let's just put a 30-day buffer in there, get it to us early, and like similar things throughout the project, giving them recommended delivery date and must-have dates.
Yep. But yeah, that's made my life a lot easier.
Mhm.
And I think also just like not a distrust, but a very healthy skepticism for what certain customers are saying to me has made my life a lot easier.
Interesting. Okay.
We had a customer say, your vice doesn't work, right? And we get a picture, they received it that day, and we get a picture of the entire thing is apart. And I'm just like, all right, we're going to inspect it. You're going to have to pay a deposit on a new one. We're going to figure out what happened. But, like when the whole vice has been taken apart the very first day before you reach out to, you're like, this was probably the user trying to do something they weren't supposed to. And just, having a solid policy in place, not dealing with that kind of thing personally myself, has just de-stressed me.
I just think
bit.
it's funny.
Yeah.
It's taken apart day one. That's what I'm chuckling at. Like, why?
Why?
But then I go, you know what? Matt 10 years ago would have probably received, this is pretty cool. I wonder how it works. Oh,
Yeah.
shit. I can't get it back together.
Yeah. Well, all these things are like QC'd, and then like he's like, I found the problem. Here's like all these springs that are like in pieces. Like these are like big coil springs. Like I'm just like, what on earth happened? Like,
Jeez.
so
look at that. You got to put that coil spring back.
it's not quite this big, but it's like half the thickness of this. Like,
Geez.
hundreds of pounds of like a true square profile coil spring. And I'm just, those don't just break, right?
Impressive. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, kind of want to figure out what happened there. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like just having, like putting policies in place, when people start to be difficult, I now have like a line I copy and paste them. Like, it's like one of our core values is reciprocity. If we promised you this lead time, and you took a significantly long time to pay or communicate or whatever, generally, we try to respond in the same cadence that you interact with us. And those little blurbs can improve your life in so many ways. And just having them like on a notepad, being there to copy paste. There's another one. We would always get the objection, like, is your payment portal and your quote safe? So now the line is, if you're ready to proceed with the order, you can click the Pay Online Now button in the quote, which will take you to our secure HubSpot online payment portal, which just like bumps the conversion rate, cuts out 4 emails, right?
Is your payment portal safe? Well,
yeah, I mean,
is it from my domain? Oh,
yeah.
geez. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's been like all CI for me. And I do need to, there's a couple engineering tasks because we're a little bit behind and scoping stuff that I need to go and dive into today. And I was whining about that switching cost earlier. Like, I'm mentally struggling to do that because like there's an engineering task I promised I would do a customer today. And it's like a custom intraload thing or like layout of their pallets. And I've been so working on the business, and it's something I know I have to do because of the timeline, and I promised I would do. But I just have to also recognize like there's that cognitive load, and I guess a little bit of concern for me that I'll get like too into the R&D thing again and get back into that less favorable mindset.
Well, could you just delegate it then? Why can't you just delegate it?
I would if it weren't for the timeline. And I mean, that was kind of a short-sighted thing on my side. It was on a Gantt chart. And then the staff member who was supposed to do it, was unavailable. And then the timeline moved up a little bit. And now we're here. If the engineering staff was there, or if I had built some of these relationships earlier, it could have been delegated. But now I put myself in this position to some extent, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, and like also I want to make that like creative time. Like I want to book out a couple days every week where I get to be the creative engineer and not have that switching cost, right? But it's not built into the business yet.
It's so, because the one that I keep trying to find creative time for is photo and video.
Yep.
Because like I used to shoot stuff and I used to enjoy it quite a bit, and like that just disappeared. And it's like I want to get back to that because I see how much value it has to the business. But at the same point, when I can't keep up with the current day to day needs, it's so impossible to make that want happen.
Yep. I got a question for you. You had talked about potentially hiring an assistant, like an in-person assistant. Is that something you're still thinking about? Did you pursue that?
I continue to revise that job description further and further. Also, AI
Yeah.
has drastically changed that game for me on that role. I'm also so I realize I keep giving excuses is what this is going to sound like. The other one is this AI sales tool that we're building out. I believe is going to save me so much time. Like I keep just kicking that one down the road. What I think it just keeps turning into a full-time role that's not executive assistant to get other things off my plate is the
Yeah.
way I keep leaning further into the way I describe those jobs.
Like a personal assistant. Yeah.
No, I'm saying
No?
like, all right, my job description continues for the executive assistant to roll into more and more of a salesperson, top of funnel, top middle of funnel. Do we just hire a top of middle of
Yeah.
funnel salesperson? Is the one thing that I keep going to, but I also don't want to put a person in that role until we've automated as much and our engineering is there supporting it to turn the proposals as fast as possible because I know how frustrated they'll be if their role is to turn quotes and we don't have the systems in place to literally have no friction. No friction's the wrong way, but to make them succeed. So that's been one of my objectives. Like I said, the AI tools, building out the automation with our engineering, we're getting very close. I'd love to have somebody in that role for automates.
Do you have like one or more full-time like admin only staff? No. So like Priscilla does pretty much admin stuff only and a little bit of marketing, and like I've been thinking a lot about this, like because the idea of an assistant, like that Dan Carlin book, is like kind of back in my head. Is it Dan Carlin?
Dan Martell?
Dan Martell. Dan Carlin's the history podcaster.
Okay.
Very, very good if you want a good history podcast with a dramatic voice. But this has been in my head a lot because I'm like, I'll see myself doing errands or I'll ask, favors from my wife Priscilla, which like can cause tension or like take away our personal time. There's a lot of like admin tasks that I just don't like doing, and I'm like, do I need to hire an admin person? Do I need to just learn AI better? Do I need to get a personal assistant? An executive assistant? Is that just the wrong role entirely?
I would say to start writing. So what I'll do is I'll start writing job descriptions, and something I've done this for years now is if I think we need to hire somebody, I write a job description and then I come back to it, say 30 days later, did that job description change?
Yep.
If it changed, not hiring the right person.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't change like multiple times in a row, why didn't I hire that person yet is the question I ask myself. So I think that would be that's probably a great segue into the challenge for you is just describe what that role would be and the tasks you'd like to put on their plate and just draft out that job title, but don't post it and just wait.
Let me stick on that for a minute more because like, in reflection, like, we had all this AR we didn't collect. The business was doing great. I just needed to be more disciplined about some, collections and policies and so on with some, difficult customers. And I get it. Like, it's great to use your vendor as a bank to an extent, but and that's kind of the job of purchasers and buyers. But nevertheless, like I knew the AR was there. I knew the business was actually doing great, even though on cash-based accounting it looked terrible for a month or two. And I waited too long to hire people. So now I'm in this position right now. We have a shop assembly guy opening. We have a head of engineering opening that are already, well-defined and posted. And I'm like, shoot, I waited too long. And, even that's probably not going to be enough. But that's going to be a lot of work to get those people onboarded and trained and hired too.
Who does your payroll, accounting, invoicing, accounts payable, accounts receivable, stuff like that? Who does that?
Yep. So payroll, AR, AP is all done by Priscilla. Accounting, she also does we have a nice process for QuickBooks. So we do bookkeeping in-house, and we have like kind of an outsourced CFO, CPA firm that does a great job. So they do our tax planning and management. I think we spend like 10 grand a year on that. And then I missed one.
Accounts payable, accounts receivable, general
Priscilla
P&L
does
stuff,
AR,
payroll.
AP. P&L we run, like kind of with the bookkeeping and everything, that just does itself. Invoicing. So that's been a big one. I've realized I like doing the sales calls. I like it being me. I like being the face of the business. It is going to get unsustainable. The actual unsustainable part, though, isn't me doing the sales call. It's me generating the quote, fighting with HubSpot, doing the follow-ups. Like, those are the things that need to be delegated out.
Yeah, same pain that I solved over last year, a lot of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Because where I was going with it is I was wondering if you needed just a bookkeeper. So I still have,
No, that's a solved problem for us.
okay, because I was going to say I have a virtual assistant, if you will, contractor that does our bookkeeping. That's all she does is
Yep.
bookkeeping now. Payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable, P&L, balance sheet, reporting.
Yeah, we're very picky about how we do our books. Like our receipt goes into every single transaction. It's taken a lot of work to get it to be not onerous, but also like report good results.
Yeah, QuickBooks, once you have the system set up, there's a lot of automation there.
Yeah. But we decided we're hard, like line in the sand, end of this year. Like next year, we're on accrual accounting. So all this is going to go up in flames, and we got to figure out that mess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Next topic.
It's a kind of personal segment or weekly challenge. Ours last week was we both kind of had what was it?
It was pretty much chill out.
Yeah, I think that's basically
like family
what it
time.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had a really good weekend and got caught up on a lot of stuff around the house, which was nice. Having a now almost 7-month makes it a lot harder to get chores done, as we've talked about throughout the several podcasts. So that was nice having just time in general. I didn't work a whole lot this weekend, which was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, personal thing, exact same for me. Like, woo, what is that? 2 weekends in a row I didn't work. Super happy about that. And I feel like I'm doing a better job at like doing the important things for the business. I've actually been putting off a couple engineering things that need to be done and figure out how to like systemize that mode switch. And we went to a concert last night, which was a little
Nice.
tired right now.
Who'd you see?
Neon Trees.
Neon Trees. I don't know who that is.
Everybody Talks. You know that song?
I've probably heard it. Like,
Okay.
I am like absolutely terrible at remembering artists or like famous actors. Like, we'll watch a movie over and over or something. I'll be like, who is that? I mean, it's like, man, how do you not?
I don't know
who,
actor
like,
actress names either.
yeah.
Yeah, band names, sorta. What is your thing to do or to be held accountable to?
That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, I'm looking at my calendar next week. I have basically a repeat of this week with some increased density. Is possibly the challenge. Yeah, I really don't know. That's a challenge for me. I don't know what I need to say my challenge is other than just move forward and execute, but that's a cop out. I don't think
Can I give you a bit of a challenge?
Sure, go for it.
And this is kind of for me too, and I've been thinking a lot about it. Like, I guess I would challenge you to ask yourself, what are the things that in 2 years I'm doing now that I don't want to be doing if I'm growing the business the way I want?
It's a fair one.
So, look at those things and just like choose one of them and saying, in X amount of time,
what do I
want to
be or not be doing?
What not be? So like, for me, I don't want to be sending quotes. I don't want to be, thinking about whether an invoice was sent correctly to a customer on an automation deal, right? Like I want that out. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to see it. And I, want to put a timeline on it and figure out how to do that.
That's actually an interesting way to look at it, because I typically look at it as what I want to be doing and getting it that way. But the way to get to that is to remove the things you don't want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a Dan Martell approach, which I haven't done that in a little bit.
You look at the positive things and it's like nice and optimistic and, but it's so easy to cut out a pain, like, because you already hate it. So you're more motivated to, actually make the change.
Yeah. Okay. What about yourself? Do you have a challenge for yourself?
Well, I need to know what to write down. I don't know if you're on board with that. What's the tangible thing of like what you're going to do, and then I should check in
Oh,
with you
from
on?
what I heard is make a list of what needs to be removed from my future task list.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that fair enough?
Yeah, it's your challenge. I was throwing something out there.
No, I like it. It's really an audit of what I do and don't do. I know I can think of a few on there that I need to put on there and put them higher on the list to get them
Yep.
solved because I've complained about them a lot.
Awesome.
So maybe it's figuring out how to move the needle on a few of those too.
Yep. Mine's it's kind of the same vein. Like, I'm really trying to move myself, from tactics to strategy. I realize like, I'm gonna have to be in the business to fix some like, key issues, but I need to be moving towards like solving problems systematically, not just banging my head against the wall and like fighting with HubSpot or like, fix the people problems, get things into flow. And the big thing, we're pushing the EOS thing, which this time I didn't even tell the rest of the team about it. It's like, Priscilla and I know we're doing it. And we blocked out like most of the day Monday to do nothing but that, look at the strategy of the business. And it's actually doing that, actually just focusing on the thing, not trying to put out fires for the team, not taking random customer calls, just heads down, strategy only, and then try to derive things from that. Because we've been going the other way, right? Where we're focused on tactics and individual plans and not the thing that we should be doing, for the grand strategy of the business.
Yeah, that's doing that typically solves the other things.
Yeah. Sales solves most of the problems. That's
yeah, good old Mark Cuban line there.
Yeah.
Sales solves all.
Thank you so much for listening to Matt and I's conversation this week on the Manufacturing Automation Podcast. If you like the podcast, please share it with a friend or give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll be back next week to continue sharing our respective journeys in life, business, and industrial automation. Thanks so much.